me.
Episode 399.
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Tony Abdullah. It's a tech podcast, but we're a shit ton cooler than your typical geek, giving you the info you need to achieve mega nerd status. And now, here's Will and Tony.
No one listens to the radio. I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Radio's boring.
Yeah, that doesn't really fit in there anymore. Hey, guys, welcome to another edition of NetHeads. My name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
There you are. Yeah, a little delay.
I was about to say it was a black screen, but that's okay.
Right? Yeah, you know what?
It's not a tech podcast unless there's tech issues.
Exactly. Which, by the way, very tech light today. The most techie thing that we could potentially get into is just discussing that there has been a mild change with my configuration here in the office. And that is the fact that I have freed my desk of the hassle of the Stream Deck controllers that I have, because I insist on being a pain in the ass even for myself. I switched the video with one Stream Deck controller, and then on a separate computer, I've got the audio file. So that way, Tony, you can hear the audio as well. And you know, anyone could, instead of it just, like, I never even realized when we did the jingle balls, or whatever it was for the holidays. I didn't even realize, Tony, that you couldn't hear them because I was playing them on the computer that the video was doing. So, you know, that's why you couldn't hear it. Whereas by having it on a separate computer, I can bring it in as a separate source into the mixer and you hear it. It's all wonderful. But I, for the longest time now, thinking it was the coolest thing since sliced bread, I had, oh, that's terrible. I had my Stream Deck controllers just sitting on the desk, and they were taking up an insane amount of space. But now, as you can see, I've got them on these little slide away controllers. So now, like when I don't want to be using them, those little things just roll up underneath the desk and they're out of sight, out of mind. And I gained back like the entire right side of my desk. So probably that covers both 3D printing and tech in one. Boom, we're done. Wasn't that amazing? Did you learn something?
Yeah, I'm just going to say right now, every time you do something to your desk, it makes me want to go turn around and do the same thing. So I'm going to have to look for those under the desk trays.
Oh, I have both of these, although I will admit that I will admit that one of them actually was purchased like off of Etsy or something, because I wasn't sure that my version of the smaller one would fit in it. But now I believe it does. So it's a non-issue. So there is a version that you could print. The only thing I will say is that you're also going to need some type of lubricant, Tony, when you print these up, because they do roll up. You know, some type of lubricant gel or something. Mechanical, you pervert. All right. So that way you can then just like move them up and down. Now, the only problem with this setup, which I briefly discovered right before the show started, is that, you know, every time I want to switch to something, if it's not the 2-shot, it all has to be in reference to the home button on one of the controllers. Like right now I can have, you guys can't see it, but my thumb is on it. And then if I want to go to the wide shot of me, I can do that. You are right next to me, Tony. And the show's title screen is on the home button, which means that this should be the 2-shot. Look at this. We're gonna get this figured out, because the last thing I want to do is like, oh, you can tell Will is about to switch to something else because I'm looking down.
It's not happening anymore.
Podcast listeners are like, you know, all of this is lost on me. I fully acknowledge that, guys. But thank you very much for joining us on this very special Friday episode of NetHeads. I will admit we did not get to do the program yesterday, and the reason why was actually kind of cool. It was one of those things where I was once again pinch hitting for Fat Man Beyond, and I was the guy basically streaming out the show, just like I do here with our setup. I did that for that program as well with Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard. which was fun, except that it went till like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm usually in bed
Ooh.
by 10 because
That just hurts on Eastern Standard for me.
oh man, yeah, I can't even imagine the people. But because it's also a 3-hour program. Now the fun thing though is that while I'm sitting here running it, like he joked, because there's a moment, if you go back and look at this episode, which is 441, it's the latest one, aired yesterday, obviously, like I said. But there's a funny moment where Kevin says, well, you don't have to be on screen while you're doing it. And I just instantly, oh, I'm sorry. And I go away, boom. And that's the last you see of me for like a long time. And so that became a callback. He's just like, you didn't have to not be on screen. It's okay. But also it turns out, the other fun part of the experience is that there are people that will get mad that I'm not the guy usually running at JC Reifenberg. And look, I get it. People don't like change and everything else, but why you got to come at me, bro? You know what I mean? Why you got to come at me? I'm bringing the show to the world. If you like the show, why are you coming at me? But
yeah, it's like, it's not your fault. You're covering, you're helping out.
Yeah.
If you weren't there and the other guy wasn't, then there would be no show. So,
and if you want to hear the full breakdown of that, you'd have to be one of our Patreon subscribers to get the bonus video and audio that people get when they are our Patreon subscribers. You get a little bonus on both ends, whether it's audio or video, and I will talk at great detail about my experience with the dickhead in the chat. But other than that, it was a fun time. But while you're sitting there producing it, the reason why you did not see me for a long time is because I forgot I'm streaming out a show for everybody else. I felt like they were doing a show for me, because I'm looking up in the prompter, because I set everything up so that way, if I am so called up to the stage, I am looking at the camera, much as I am now, trying to make that a connection with you, the audience member, which, by the way, Tony gets to be your proxy. I'm always talking to him when I do this. So I had that. So from my perspective, it's just Kevin and Mark sitting in this tiny screen doing a little show for me on, the smallest monitor I've got in the room. Which, by the way, I would love to make a big-ass prompter now, because I bet you that would be really easy to do.
I really
at least in this base function. But you know what? Again, I didn't want to talk about technology because there's been so much going on. Tony, we've been gone for 2 weeks, and the reason why there was no episode last week is because karma finally caught up with me. I have traveled professionally quite a number of times. I think the most adverse thing that had happened to me was that one time I had a flight out of Burbank back up to San Francisco that got delayed 4 hours. 4 damn hours. But in the long run, it's like, okay, well, I'll just sit here. I'm always traveling with, charger banks of some type, backup batteries, external batteries. Yeah. So I'm always covered. So I could be sitting there and, it was the time of TikTok. So I was scrolling away, baby. It's trying not to get hungry because I don't want to pay airport food prices. And it was nothing. Well, for work, I had to go to Michigan, Tony. Okay. And I don't know if you recall, but the week of Valentine's Day was not a good weather time, especially for the Wednesday before the Thursday that I flew out.
Well, the East Coast it was, and then you were really close to the East Coast.
Yeah, exactly. So karma finally caught up with me, but I'm telling you guys right now up front, the thing that I appreciated is the fact that, it really just means it's a lot more sitting around. Mm-hmm. And two, again, with the devices, I'm kind of covered. So it wasn't so bad, but what happened was this. Now, there's a bummer part of it, and then there's a real pisser part of it. I did not miss my flight. My flight did not get delayed directly due to the weather. It got delayed because of us having to go through the de-icing station. And right. Yes, please, whatever it is that the ice does to impact the safety or functionality of the plane, get rid of it. What sucks is that they loaded us all on the plane and then it's got to go to de-icing, and that delayed us an hour and a half. So I missed my connecting flight. And by the time I get off the plane, I'm routed to another, because I had to go to Chicago first, leaving Detroit to Chicago. Very short hop. Shouldn't have been an issue. but de-icing. So from there, by the time I get off that plane, this is what I love about technology. You don't have to go rush the ticketing desk or customer service anymore. The app just tells you, oh, well, now apparently I'm flying through Las Vegas to Sacramento. I've got one extra airport to go, but okay. But then everything else got delayed subsequently as well. So my Vegas flight got delayed like 2 hours. My flight home was 3 hours.
If only it would have been longer in Vegas, you would have had something to do.
You know what, man? I'm not a big guy of playing games of chance. I'm just not that person.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not what I was thinking about. Like, there's a Avenger station there. You could have gone through the whole.
Oh, see, it's a good thing I didn't know about that, because I probably would have. I would have been like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these bags, but I've now got hours of time, because it was the plane was supposed to leave at 2:30, and I was getting in an hour ahead of that, even with the delay. It was supposed to fly out 2:30 to Sacramento, and it did not leave until, I think, was that the one that was 5:55 or was it 7? What time did I got home around 9. So yeah, so it got delayed till 5:55 or something like that. So that's a big enough window to be like, oh, I can do something stupid. I can do ridiculous time things, because if I can get there in 20 minutes and back in 20 minutes, there's still a lot of wiggle room. I'm glad I did not know about that.
Do you know about Avenger Station though?
Clearly not. Let's not get into it right now. We've got other Avengers things to talk about later. Okay. Put a pin in that. We can come back to it. But there were slot machines, but none of the ones I would play that I've been told. There's a certain method that, if you have a 5-line slot that you can also play all 5 lines on a spin, you have a higher odds of winning. You can turn it into an ATM machine, allegedly. But I did not test that theory out. So needless to say, there were a lot of delays. So I did not even land until after the show was supposed to start. But again, you know what? It wasn't so bad. Again, it was just sitting around. So if that's all that convenience. Now, the pisser part of it, we got in 20 minutes after my connecting flight left. It did not get delayed. And that damn thing ran on time and landed in Sacramento at 10:34 a.m. just the way it was supposed to. So yeah, I was supposed to get home at 10 a.m., like 10:34 a.m., and instead I landed at 8:50. Well, that's when I was supposed to land, and I didn't get home until like 9 something. So a little bit off schedule compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah, but just a little bit.
Hey, but the cool thing about it though, Tony, and maybe part of my mental perspective on this is because of the investment of mental wealth I've been given myself with the amazing product called Magic Mind. I don't know if you're aware of it. I have a subscription for it. It doesn't require refrigeration. Tastes great refrigerated, but the bottles are also small enough you can travel with them. So even though I had a long day, I was able to hack the system. Now, normally Magic Mind is something I take with its wonderful cordyceps mushrooms in it, the lion's mane mushroom and other things, the nootropics and adaptogens that help give you mental clarity, and if you're a coffee drinker, help extend the benefits that we get from caffeine without the crash. But the great thing is because you can travel with it, you can also take it different times of the day. So you don't necessarily have to take it with your coffee. Like today, for example, I was not feeling well, but I'm like, I'll be goddamned if we're not doing a show. So instead, I took a shot of Magic Mind in the evening or in the afternoon. Look at me now, guys. You'd think that, hey, that firecracker, he just got up a little while ago with that kind of energy, right? No, that's not what it is. It's my subscription to Magic Mind. So it's a wonderful thing. It has beautiful hints of lemongrass, by the way, in the flavor of it. And I mean that in a good way. It has a nice citrusy taste to it. It's really wonderful. Obviously, the benefits of mental clarity, sustained energy, and the like are all great. If you guys want to take advantage of it, then I'd highly recommend you use the link in our description. A new one for this month. I believe it's magic. Well, I don't want to mess it up. It's magicmind.com/nethead singular LT20. Okay, and that'll get you like 20% off, I think, your first purchase. Or you could utilize the code as well, NetHead LT20, to get up to potentially 48% on a subscription like I get. I get 2 boxes a month. One goes in the pantry, one goes in the fridge because I like it cold. But really, it is a wonderful thing that has helped me both on my mental healing journey, but also just my mental wealth and wellness journey as well. So if you guys want to take advantage of that and have the kind of energy I bring to the table, maybe did I have a bottle at 6 p.m. yesterday because I knew I was going to be sitting and running Fat Man Beyond? Yes, I did, because I knew that starts at 8 and it's a 3-hour program. Magic Mind, different parts of the day, different things. And I was able to go to sleep at night too. That's the other important thing. Look at that. Boom. 11 o'clock, they were done. Look, I'll admit I sat down and I had to watch an episode of Severance. But after that, I passed right out. And yeah, that's all because of Magic Mind. So again, magicmind.com/netheadlt20 to get 20% off your single purchase or up to 48% off your subscription so that you can enjoy it the way I do. Even one of our listeners last week who was following along on X, I discovered they're like, oh, I subscribed because Will brought it up. So thank you so much for that. Glad that we could share the wealth with everyone else. Also, special shout outs to the chat. We've got ZB and That Fracking Cat in the chat. And that got to rhyme, so that makes me feel even better. Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
What's been going on with you the past week? That was basically my life. And this week, by the way, has sucked because my daughter has had influenza B. So it's just like she's been down and we've all been tiptoeing around that. But how the hell have you been?
Doing great. Kid just had his 10th birthday, and we've had buckets of fun.
Oh, buckets of fun. My goodness. I was legitimately looking to an update about what's going on in your life, but fine. You want to be all about the content and drive the show? All right, backseat producer, Tony Abdullah. I'll acquiesce to this and admit it. Yes. So, look, guys, between all the good TV that's happening right now and the fact that we've got a new Marvel movie that just dropped, you had to have known this week was just going to be just dripping with MCU. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Especially since, holy crap, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, wonderful show. Amazing. It had its season finale, and I think it's also already been renewed for season 2 and 3, which, going into it is nice to know. But that just had its season finale. We also just had Captain America Brave New World drop in theaters, and Disney Plus really wants us all to eagerly remember the fact that Daredevil Born Again is coming at us on March 4th.
And it looks so good.
I mean, yes.
So good.
The saddest thing of all, and I don't mean to tip my hat about my opinions on Brave New World, but the saddest thing of all is that the MCU project that may have the most potential and the greatest feeling, because all it's trying to do is live up to its former self, really. It's not having to worry about being grandiose, connected to everything. No. It's just got to be, that show will always be compared to Daredevil Netflix show season 1. That's what it'll always be compared to.
I'm going to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
I watched that trailer for Born Again multiple times. And the fact that in one of the scenes, when you see him breaking the arm, you see skin breaking and it cuts away real quick. I'm like, oh, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be so
that's going to be
brutal.
bad. Which, by the way, also, quite shockingly, your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, when Scorpion's revealed,
it's not good for Peter.
It's not good for anybody. Straight up gang member getting shish kebabbed, my friends. They creatively off screen. But anyway, we've had all these things going on. So the first thing we're going to get into it, though, because between the two of us, there are 3 of them in play. I thought it would be a fun game. If you'll show me yours, Tony, I'll show you mine. Captain America, it's always about the buckets, guys. Always about the buckets. So the popcorn buckets. Tony, would you please present to us the popcorn buckets that you have? And please also identify the theater of origin.
Okay, so I looked real hard to figure out where I wanted to get my buckets from because Will was swaying me very, very closely to going to AMC, but I ended up choosing the popcorn buckets from the Cinemark Theater. I was not able to go opening night, but I had family go get it. First up is the Captain America flight helmet popcorn bucket. This is vastly better than the Ant-Man Quantumania bucket.
It
The
looks
only
much
thing that
sturdier.
it's much sturdier. The paint is not going to chip on this thing like the Ant-Man did. It's not that flimsy plastic with layered paint. The only downside is it does not light up. I really feel like this could have benefited from a light up, but let's face it, with all of the helmets that I have, having the flight helmet was a complete necessity.
You know, not to mention, Tony, having put illuminated cosplay eyes into a mask, I can tell you rather inexpensively, you can do your own mild modification and make it glow, baby.
A battery powered tea light candle and you're done.
Oh, there you go. That's even easier. What
Yeah.
the hell was I thinking? Okay, that is a good one. That's a good entry. It's nice to see it's better than the Ant-Man one. I will say, though, that the other reason why I did not go for that one, didn't try and hunt it out, no matter, even though it was so nice, is because I ended up getting a yearly subscription to a 3D modeler group, consortium, whatever it is,
Okay.
of Do 3D. And because I'm a subscriber, I get 2 free helmet or accessory files a month.
Nice.
And since they had that flight helmet, I said, you know what? I shouldn't be buying these things anyway. So if nothing else, I should be printing up my own garbage. and so that's why I didn't opt for that one. But what is, for those of you that are wondering, I said between the two of us, there are 3. Tony's the one that has more popcorn buckets than I do this time. What else is in place, sir?
I've got this one, which is also the uniform.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. I got to say something. I got to say something here. I did not pick up on this before. But that is also, it's a metal bucket.
Oh yeah, it's metal.
Oh, I mean, except of course, okay, but that is metal.
Yep.
and it's got the wing backpack too.
Oh yeah.
Okay, see, that's the best. And of course, now it's just eating you alive that the one moment you go to actually do it,
I know.
the wing, there we go. Do you see how fast I swap back right to that just in time to see you spread your wings, young man, and fly,
Yeah.
fly away? That is written. See, that's cool. And then it has room for some type of drink in the back.
Yep.
How does that, wait, but what kind of container can fit in that drink area?
Okay, so it's a cup. It's its own cup.
Oh, okay. There
So
we go.
you take the lid off, and
Yeah.
then this comes right off,
Uh-huh.
and then you can put whatever you want inside.
Oh, okay. So it is the container. All right,
Yeah.
I got you. The only, and I shared this with Tony like last week or 2 weeks ago. I think the only other thing related to this that I would love that reminds me of is the fact that you can get a Captain America drink shield from California Adventure right now that literally has the little straps too. So you're sitting there holding the shield and drinking from it.
And it's got straps so you can put it on your back and walk around with it on your back.
Exactly, because there's nothing you want more than to take your cold drink, put it on your sweaty back, and ruin its temperature. Okay, so Tony, obviously, I went with the AMC one because the AMC is what's near me. That's the only reason. And realistically, I thanks to Tony right before show, I discovered that the primary reason why I got this is not anywhere the reason why it's going to be used. But I got, and I will admit too that I discovered after I got home, the one they gave me was dented, but I'll live with it. But I picked up the metal, as seen being used in social media clips by Anthony Mackie, although he just had the popcorn right here. The actual design, this just reeks of something that a 3D printing person came up with.
It looks like a convention like collapsible stool.
Right? But instead, it's a popcorn bucket, and there's I'm trying to get the symbol in, but I can't even see what I'm doing because it's right
Looks
up here.
so good.
It does, and boy, let me tell you, it picks up it picks up fingerprints the same way my black clothes pick up dog hair.
You're
Now I
making me
can't
feel
get it
better
closed.
now that the wings wouldn't go up. Yours
Oh
won't
yeah,
go
now
down.
I can't close this thing. But whatever. As you can see, I cleaned it off right before we did this, and it picks up the fingerprint something fierce. Now, originally, the reason why I cost justified this is because I'm like, you know what? It's a little less ostentatious than the one that I made back here, and I could probably print up better brackets for it, right? Like 2 supporting ones back here and a simple hook in the back, rather than this whole rigged thing. But then, one, not really saving much space, which was the intention, but 2, just with the nature of the way they did the painting on this Captain America shield. Oh, by the way, podcast listeners, sorry, check out the YouTube video. That's all. What else are you going to say? But also, when it gets back here, where I would hang it, you really start to lose a lot of the detail because it's so reflective. It's catching the cheap lights that I use to pull off this color effect you see behind me. Okay, so you go over here. There we go. Nice. So that's my popcorn bucket. Now, I have to admit, going into this, when I thought, well, gee, which one's better? Going into it, I thought, you know, I got this one hands down because it's a metal shield and it's really cool. But I think the true winner of a cool popcorn bucket to display has to go to the all-metal one with the shield lid and the wing backpack drink holder.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is just the cutest.
It really is. It's fun. Now, I will tell you, you can't let it sit down with the wings down because it goes farther down than the bottom of the bucket. So functionality. But who's gonna sit with it on the shelf with it not like this? I mean,
exactly.
Except for to put it down and just put it back up again. I will say Regals has some honorable mentions when it comes to it. They had the upper torso of the Red Hulk. That was a popcorn bucket that you could open up.
Kind of like a maquette.
Yeah, and it was actually a pretty good size. It would have been very good, just having sit somewhere. And then they had a version that was kind of like this, but it was all plastic. And it was more of like, it looked more like a vase, but it had like a squared base that opened up tall and the wings came out straight and they could go down, but the wings were like like an acrylic plastic. So they were kind of a little bit more vibrant. But there was no topper for it. It just had it had the shield logo on the front. Like it was the shield with the wings and this like squarish base, which was pretty cool. I will admit, I thought about buying it because we ended up going to a Regal to watch the movie. Yeah, I'm still glad with what I got.
Yeah, they're good ones. I think there was also, I'm not sure if this is something my mind made up or I was taking something out of context, but I think I saw another one as well that was pretty much the Red Hulk, but he was attacking in such a way that your popcorn bucket sits there and it looks like he's attacking your popcorn.
That was a Cinemark exclusive bucket.
Okay.
And it reminded me way too much of the Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, okay.
Because the Groot was literally putting his arms out and his hands were the bucket. Like,
okay. Fair enough. All I know is that I look forward to seeing the people, probably you included, where I'm suddenly going to see the section of your collection room that is just the popcorn bucket displays.
It's ready for it.
Yeah, see? And it's true. And the thing is, like, here's the reason why I really can't justify these things anymore, though. I have no place to put them. Okay?
You think I do?
I'm going to start creating those wacky shelves that just kind of act as that are like a 12 to 18 inch drop off the ceiling that go around the room so I can have stuff on them. But no, I don't have a place to put them. But that brings us to the main talking point. One of the main talking points of this week, because I don't think since maybe Miss Marvel, I have seen, or Captain Marvel, I don't think I've seen this level of discourse over an MCU movie before we got Captain America Brave New World. Just not even getting into my opinion of it. Critics seemed to trash it in advance. Then there seemed to have been a large number of people that, based on that, went to go see it, and they're like, I don't get it. This was not a bad movie, which I completely agree. It's not a bad movie. But I'm going to tell you about my opinion of it, and then I'm going to tell you why I think I had the experience I did. I thought it was okay. It did not jump out at me. In many ways, if you want to think of it as a Captain America introductory movie, I found it superior to Captain America: The First Avenger.
I would agree with that.
For example. So it was enough where I was entertained the whole time. Now, my wife and 10-year-old daughter, for Valentine's Day, we went to go see the movie. Obviously, I didn't see it on Thursday. I was trapped in traveling land. But we did go see it, and my daughter was actually, we did not know this at the time, but she was starting to come down with the flu. So she fell asleep in the movie theater, something she's never done, not even as a small child. And my wife was bored with this movie. But I will say that the following day, the Saturday, she wanted to sit down and watch Falcon and Winter Soldier from beginning to end. So it served a purpose. Now, I'll get into my experience.
They kept on giving.
Yeah, I will, as far as I was concerned, because after the day of traveling and everything else, I was more than happy to just crash out on the couch for a while. I either just experienced an event myself or there was just an earthquake. I'm not sure which. I'm relatively certain I didn't experience, like vertigo or dizziness, but it just kind of threw me that I'm like, hey. Oh, by the way, also, I just found out that for those of you watching on TikTok, hi, I forgot we're streaming there. I really need to have something up and running because my daughter, Emily, just sent us a rose on the live stream a little while ago, and I didn't even catch it. Apologies.
Aw.
Slacking, baby. We'll get there eventually. Anyway, so my experience with the movie, like I said, I liked it better than Captain America: The First Avenger. It was an engaging story for me from beginning to end. The only parts that I bumped up against, other than, and I think everybody will freely admit that some of the visual effects in the final third act of the movie got sketchy. And I think the reason what people are really picking up on is that the parts we butted up against were parts that were probably done purely green screen because they were reshoots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So at that point, that's why it looked so bad in regards to the cherry blossoms area, because in one point it was way more composited than we would have expected. But I think the reason why I bumped up against anything in this movie is because I watched and loved Falcon and Winter Soldier, because this movie required way more exposition for the people that are just going from Avengers Endgame to Captain America: Brave New World. If they didn't take the Falcon and the Winter Soldier journey, they had to have everything explained to them. You know, where did Sam get his costume? Why does he look like this?
Who's Isaiah?
Yeah, exactly. Who's Isaiah? Is it Joaquin? I think it is. The name of the character that is the new Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
Joaquin Torres? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Torres.
He we kind of had to introduce him. So this movie had to do a lot of things to kind of reestablish things that were, by the time I got to the end of the rewatch of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm like, yes, Isaiah, I get it. They put you away for 30 years. Literally, like one of the last episodes, they use that in the recap at the beginning, and then he says the exact same line again in the episode. So you're just like, yeah, okay, we get it.
But you know what? Think about you being screwed over by your employer. You're going to tell people. And it's
yeah.
I get it. You know.
So the movie spent a lot of time in the beginning trying to educate everyone else, and for me, it was just a re-education. So I'm like, yeah, I know he got it from Wakanda, but thanks for explaining. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
And you know what? He didn't get it as a gift. Bucky got it for him. But let's not be pedantic. But I did enjoy it from beginning to end. The only other thing that I don't think that I really kind of bought into as much, the one thing, and I know this seems sacrilegious, Tony,
Okay.
But really, I feel like I watched this movie and I was just like, I really wish I could have seen what William Hurt had done with this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I could see that. Yeah.
That's the only thing. I mean, like I really would have loved to have seen how he had, because he was, for the most part, very stoic and everything else. I mean,
But he was
honestly,
also his angry yelling, like through parts of the MCU that we've seen.
mhm.
Like you could see him raging out, you know, even like the after credit scene in Incredible Hulk with him and Tony Stark. Like you can feel the gravity of him and his personality. And I would have loved to have seen that, because I think the problem with me was it was like Harrison Ford's character was too apologetic and too quick to try to make amends by while still be. I think it wasn't as convincing as William Hurt could have made it.
Yeah. Yeah, and plus there are certain things about the way this story plays out. It's like, okay, I kind of get it, because uh, they seem to have been tuned for what Harrison Ford could deliver,
Sure.
right? So,
I think he did a really good job, and I
oh
think
yeah.
I think he likes being part of a big franchise that's not Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, you know what, this is
I did, I
nice.
did, I did see a meme on TikTok where it was basically like that whole him hulking out scene was not actually any CGI; it was practical effects. They just kept talking to him about Star Wars enough until he just raged out.
There was another great interview where a person is like, when you're having to do these things and they're capturing that, do you think, do you feel ridiculous? And he just looks at the guy, it's called commerce. They paid me to do it.
Lots
No.
of money.
Yeah, no. But anyway, the whole point is I enjoyed it. And it's, honestly speaking, last night on Fat Man Beyond, somebody brought up something in the chat there, and I think this is right. The only thing that I would say is that I think Anthony Mackie deserved better. I'm
Yes,
not
I
saying
agree.
this is bad, but when you're watching this movie, my other biggest complaint is it ended up having multiple writers on it. And I feel like you literally could tell when you were going through, let's say, a chapter of the story that was added in because another writer's picking it up. But then again, knowing what we know now, considering almost all of the Giancarlo Esposito stuff was reshoots,
Yeah.
that means that also is why it might not necessarily, fit the vibe, if you will. And that's
Yeah.
the kind of thing. But other than that, I enjoyed the story from beginning to end. Loving the fact that potentially, and this is spoilers, guys, just give me 10 seconds, maybe 15, going in 3, 2, 1. I really feel like I love the thought of Thaddeus Ross actually having the leader locked away and basically saying, I want to advance my career, and him doing all of those probability calculations with his amazing brain, so
Yep.
that way Ross could get to the presidency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally trying to hack reality. Kind of some of that limitless energy thrown in there, if you will.
Yeah.
But that's my hot take on it. I think this movie will thrive on home video. I think people will have a much better opinion of it if they get to watch it at home.
Okay. Are you ready for my hot take?
Yes, I'm willing to shut up
Okay.
now.
First of all, I love the film. I think it was a great performance with Anthony Mackie, with the staff, with the cast. I enjoyed it. I do feel like it had a lot of issues with the reshoots. Also, them bringing in an inflammatory character from the comic books that didn't need to be fleshed out in film, and then them trying to backtrack, because a lot of the choppiness in the movie was them pulling Ruth Beth Sabbath's um Beth Saraf's, I guess, like scenes, like they minimized her a little bit.
You're
But they
talking
still,
about the use of an introduction of Sabra, but not Sabra,
yes,
but
yeah,
and okay,
yeah,
which by the way is something I was not even aware of going
yeah.
into
So
this.
yeah, so Ruth Beth Saraf, Saraf, I guess is I keep messing it up, but it doesn't really matter with this character because this character doesn't really deserve respect. She was a very inflammatory racist character in the comics, one that didn't need to be bring up, even with whatever the economic political climate of what's going on lately. Um, I liked the leader's involvement. I wish there would have been more of him. I did like Ross getting his comeuppance and how it ended with him, but at the same time, I saw something online and I don't know who it was to credit them, but after I heard it, I can't unhear it, and I'm gonna tell you, and hopefully this doesn't ruin your day. But it was basically Captain America: Civil War all over again.
I in fact I did see somebody, or no, it was Juju, Straw Hat Goofy on the
Okay.
old TikTok there. He brought it up. He's like literally like he just broke down this is the story of Civil War, Captain America Civil War. This is the story of Captain America Brave New World.
Trying to
and
save
they're the
his
same damn thing.
going against Ross to protect his superpowered friend. I mean, it's Civil War with wings.
Yes, it is. That's all it is. You know, the other thing too, like a lot of people have been for lack of a better term, shitting on the fact that, you know, it's like, well, but this is a Captain America but you know, he doesn't have the super soldier serum. Like that's what defines Cap. But let me point something else out, okay? Not one of you runs up against Batman. You don't have a problem there, do you? Oh, yeah. Bruce Wayne's got enough money and gadgets, but this guy with gadgets and superior technology can't do some shit? Come on.
Yeah, and he's got vibranium technology. Like, let's face it. Yeah, it didn't like withstand Hulk, a Red Hulk, but at the same time, that it lasted pretty good. It did all right.
Yeah, it did. It did. Also, shout out on TikTok to Buddy the Elf. I finally got my burner phone here sitting in there so that I can at least acknowledge, oh, look, something did happen, but I'm not going to see it because I'm looking at you and it's
Buddy the Elf. I know him.
He dropped in on the Fat Man Beyond stream last night too, and I was like, I saw
nice.
Buddy the Elf, and he's like, oh, I just ordered this. I think it might have been the Mando, okay, that sounds weird out of context, but the men's, you know,
I would listen
after
the lube conversation. I think we're good with whatever happens.
Fair enough, you know, because once you've talked about
once you talk about lube under the desk, you're going down a road you don't want to go.
That you're talking about things that these are not services that we have or spicy sites that we have. Please stop, my friend, stop.
It's just so you can push the right buttons. It's just how it is.
And also, I'm not saying this because
and just because we're in this conversation, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Speaking of lube and under the desk stuff, remember, Patreon subscribers, you get it at both ends of the show. I'm just saying.
You are a bad man, but it's true.
When you said that, I couldn't help it.
Patreon.com/NetHeads on there. I also do have to say this. It's a weird world I live in now. I did not realize how spoiled I was. And I'm not saying this because she's like one of the 3 viewers on TikTok. But there used to be a thing where opening day for Marvel movies, my older daughter Emily and I would go to those because my wife would then see them Sunday morning when things are less crowded. I get to see things without being spoiled, and I get to see the movies twice. But most importantly, it became kind of a tradition that where Emily and I would go see the movies together. And, you know, now she's 21 and has a life. So it's like I'm getting home.
How'd that happen?
I know. So suddenly now it's just like I either reserve myself to Sunday viewing, and I don't want to get into that awkward thing of do I just go see it alone? You know?
Well, if the entire country wasn't between the two of us, I would go with you.
You know, the thing is, I think I'm going to have a lot more buy-in from my wife on Thunderbolts because which by the way, I had not seen
really good.
I still had not seen the new Thunderbolts trailer in quality. First place I got to see it was writ large on the big screen. And I like what they seem to be setting up. You know, the only question that I have in relation to it, realistically speaking, is this something that actually happens before or after Captain America Brave New World? You know, is this a Bucky that has unsuccessfly run for Congress? Or is this a Bucky prior to running for Congress? But I'll be interested to see how the movie plays out. Naturally, if they... It really, realistically, it's Marvel's first attempt at even though Guardians of the Galaxy kind of hit that beat with kind of not a Suicide Squad energy, but you know, the ragtag
kind of
team.
so though.
Yeah,
you know, even with the if you think about the first one, which we shouldn't talk about it, with the, you know, with was it the priestess and and Rick Flag's love interest in the first film. You have the Void and Sentry,
Right,
the
which
duality between the two.
yeah, but it's like okay, so it again. We'll look forward to Straw Hat Goofy's breakdown later, comparing the Suicide Squad against Thunderbolts. Asterisk. Which, by the way, great promo for that film too. Like our theater had this ridiculous like Wheaties box for Thunderbolts.
Oh, I wish ours had that.
Oh, it's
I wanted to
just
get a picture.
so big and glorious.
Yeah. I wanted to
And
get home.
honestly speaking, I'm hoping David Harbour is just in like 9/10 of the frames of this movie. Because if it is, I will just eat that up. Give me Red Guardian, the whole thing of that, and him interacting with
With
Yelena.
the little toy in the box.
Oh, let me tell you something. All right. First of all, I don't think 2 MCU projects in Phase 4 got enough recognition. I think Black Widow's biggest problem is that it was a movie made at the wrong time.
It was a Phase 3 movie brought into
Right.
Phase 4. Yeah.
And this thing should have been made, and think about the fucking gut punch this would have been. But I would have liked it. In some ways, it could have enhanced Endgame. Imagine that you see Black Widow as the last film before Endgame instead. They slot one more in, and it's got that tag at the end showing that Natasha has died, and you've still got to experience Avengers Endgame. Sometimes it's less important to see the shock than it is to see the journey to get to a point.
The people that are sitting there like, is it going to happen? Is it about to happen? And
yeah. So there's that, but then the moment they're like, oh well, they've got to go to wherever the hell it was, Vormir. Yeah, they're going to Vormir. It's like, oh shit, because that's what we all thought the minute they're going to Vormir. It's like, oh man, this is not good. This will not end well. Anyway. I don't think Black Widow gets enough credit as being a really good, fun project. And also, I hear Brad Winderbaum has made some comments that they're exploring the possibility of a Hawkeye season 2, because it's something they could revisit at almost any time. And that in itself, that is one of the finer as well MCU TV shows, which is just fun. It showcases the shit out of Yelena in a great way. And it's one of my Christmas go-tos now. The Christmas season comes, I'm watching Hawkeye.
It's like the Marvel version of Die Hard.
Yeah, really. Yeah. It's good. I like it. It's got to be there. But that kind of brings us. So your final thoughts on Brave New World? I feel like we got diverted.
I feel like this film is one of the things. It has a watchability that a lot of the Phase 4 films have lost the ability to kind of retain. You can go back to previous films and watch Captain America over and over again. You can watch Guardians of the Galaxy over and over again. Avengers Endgame, let's face it, and Infinity War. If you've got the time to invest, you're gonna want to watch it again. Some of Phase 4 has not been as rewatchable. I'm not saying specifically what Quantumania, but there are always things that they could do better. And I feel like this film's gonna be one that I'm gonna go back and watch over and over again, like I have with Guardians Volume 3.
The moment, like I said, I think it's going to have far less scrutiny on home video. I really do, especially when you can, imagine the day you're sitting there with Disney Plus and you're going through Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then after that ends, because you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, now you can watch Captain America: Brave New World.
But can I just say right now,
you can.
2025 has been the year for Marvel so far, with the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man being such a banger. We had a really good start out with last week, opening week, for Captain America, the Brave New World. I mean, they're already made their money back. Now it's just butter after this. We've got Daredevil coming out next month. And then May we have Thunderbolts Asterisk. And then July we've got freaking Fantastic Four First Steps.
Tony, I really, time's almost up. But look, I don't know why I got this in my head, but I'm hoping it's the case. And I got to admit, man, I just kind of hung it out there on Fat Man Beyond last night. I can't believe I said this out loud in front of two guys who are professional writers, right?
Okay. I'm ready for it.
Somehow I got it in my head that even though, you know, the Fantastic Four are these rock stars in this 60s inspired, in this retro tech 60s with future tech and a retro feel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but for some reason I've gotten it in my head that the Fantastic Four, their initial trip where they get powers, somehow also puts them in that universe, and that they are from the sacred timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Or the 616 as the MCU tries to refer to itself.
There have been rumors to confirm that theory.
What?
There have been rumors that are trying to confirm that theory.
Ah, okay.
They believe that like they kind of lose at some point in the film, like they lose the respect of like that universe, or that at least that Earth, because they realize they're not really from there and that they've been posing this whole time. But I don't know how accurate that is, but that is a common theory going around the internet right now.
I mean, look, the idea of what we're getting is a little problematic. The fact that they, and by the way, hopping back to Brave New World a little bit, stop trying to show us stuff to make sure you're getting ass in seats, Marvel. Okay?
Yeah,
because the casting leaks that they let out, the casting announcements that they made, and everything else. That's the only other complaint I had about Brave New World. For me, a lot of elements were predictable. I understood exactly why they were happening. And again, just like with Thor Ragnarok, if I didn't know Red Hulk was going to be in this movie, it would have been an even cooler payoff. But
butts and seats.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, so with Fantastic Four, showing us Galactus, that means this story at this point goes one of two ways. Well, one of three ways. One, somehow somebody's faking being Galactus. Possible, highly unlikely. Two, the Fantastic Four defeats Galactus, but in doing so kicks themselves into the 616. Or three, they're from the 616, and, you know, it's really a bummer we couldn't save this Earth from being eaten, but Reed realizes he can... This is too dark. This wouldn't happen. Could you imagine if it's like Reed realizes he can harvest some of that Galactus energy in order to punch through back home?
But that's exactly what Reed Richards is. Like, the many iterations of Reed Richards. Have you ever read the Marvel Zombies comics?
No, I've never read any of the Marvel Zombie
comics.
Okay,
let me just say this. The original premise for the Marvel Zombie comics, Magneto wants to turn the entire Earth to mutants to stop the mutant hatred. In doing so, he releases a contagion that actually turns superpowered beings into zombies who are able to then eat people, and then they get their consciousness back after they've fed, but the satisfaction doesn't last for very long. You then have the Reed Richards trying to research how to reverse this, only to come to the conclusion that this is the only possible next step in evolution for mankind, to become these zombies, because they are self-sustaining. And not only that, but when they consume like a being, they gain their powers. So like they consume Galactus and they all have his cosmic energy at that point. So that's what's caused them to go through the universe and just wipe out the universe. But Reed Richards then decides the best way to do this is then again to go into other places in the multiverse and basically take those places over. And it's a train wreck when it comes to Reed Richards and what he's willing to do.
That is terrifying. But you know, I've only heard parts of the story, like including like the turmoil that Peter goes through. Like,
oh, that's so much fun.
It's just, I don't want to get into it. If I'm going to talk about any Spider-Man before we wrap this up, it's going to be the aforementioned friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Now, Tony, I think I already made mention somewhere once before that this is probably going to be that the first iteration of the Spider-Man costume we see in this multiversal story, which I love the way that they changed some things and they kept other things consistent with MCU stories that we're aware of. You know, they talk about the Sokovia Accords and everything else.
The parallels were fantastic.
Yeah, and the things that they did with bringing doing exact recreation of some scenes or showing us the way one scene may have happened, like when Tony is confronting Peter and he pulls up the YouTube footage of the SUV being stopped against a bus. We see that. So it's got all kinds of cool things. But the first costume we see is really cool because it's like he's got a hockey jersey, right?
Yes.
With a spider on the front. And I was like, this is going to be the most cosplayed costume we start seeing. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, Tony, the jersey's already in Hot Topic. it's a Hot Topic product.
Oh, I haven't had a chance to go out and look yet.
Yeah, you can already.
It's so cool.
You can already get it, and I'm interested to see because right now I believe this weekend Fan Expo is it Toronto? Somewhere in
so.
Canada land.
Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver. Okay,
Yeah, because Johnny's going to be there.
Yeah, okay. I always get the two fucked up. Anyway, it's that's happening. I'm interested to see if we see anybody coming out of there. But it was now the only bad thing I will say, and I know you haven't seen the finale, so I won't get into exact details. But I will admit that there were certain installments in the story I don't need to see. I've already recently seen a journey for Spider-Man getting his costume, right?
Right.
I've seen multiple iterations of that actually. When you think about between the sweatsuit he starts out in, to the first costume he gets from Tony, to Iron Spider, to eventually sewing his own. I've already seen that story, so those elements I didn't need, but I will commend Disney Plus on their release model with this because it was like the first week we got 2 episodes, then every drop between that and the finale we got 3 episodes, and then the final was a 2-episode drop. I wasn't aware of the release schedule, so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, well, okay, yeah, next episode. Next episode. So it was nice the way they told the story. And that's my only complaint about it was just that one element. Other than that, I liked seeing this, and I love that it is in. I love that it's a multiversal story because we do get to see a new, freshly told Spider-Man story. So that was just, it's a fun journey for me. If you guys have Disney Plus and you have not looked at this, I would definitely say all episodes are now available. So you can just binge the whole damn thing.
It's a whole lot of fun.
Highly recommend.
They're not heavy episodes, but at the same time, they leave you wanting to watch the next episode. You're going to get classic iterations of some characters. You're going to get completely different viewed versions of others. I will be honest with you. People were hating on Norman Osborn for being a black man. I love this Norman Osborn. I think he is I'm trying to remember. There's a character that he reminds me of. He's just very stoic, but there's not something right about him. But he seems to want to do good, but in the wrong ways. And so absolutely, I love it. But then you get the classic Doc Ock look, and just and in my honest opinion, I think it's the best, I would say, either animated or live action version of Doc Ock that we've gotten, because you don't want him to be too good, you don't want him to be too bad, but you want him to be really cocky. And I feel like we got that with this one.
One thing I will say about this show that some people butted up against, but it's something I actually loved, was that this was a very the artistic style of this show was very comics inspired. I mean, this is early Spider-Man drawing style as well. And so the creative choices they made there, I really enjoyed. I always loved, that's part of the reason why Into the Spider-Verse for me slapped so hard, because it was an interesting take on bringing the comic book experience into a motion world. And I feel like this Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man did the exact same thing. It hit those beats and it achieved that goal. And I enjoyed it the whole time. The only thing I will say is that when the final costume is revealed, I wish there was a little more shading in it. You know, maybe a little more Todd McFarlane-ness to it than is
Oh, yeah.
present. But you know, who knows the budget
Yeah, but
they're working
yeah,
on.
remember we're still like Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man at this point. It's
Mhm.
very much the Peter Parker from the old comics, which they thank God he doesn't have the same personality that he did back in the original comics because he was a little bit of a jerk. But yeah, and then of course I have to mention this because let's just face it, we had a symbiote in the first episode,
Yeah.
and then we have Nico Manero from the Runaways. I mean, we've got another superpowered being that's going to be playing out at some point, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I will say you haven't seen the finale, but man, the last 5 minutes of that finale is just like, here's what's coming, kids. This is what you're looking forward to, which is why I think it was very well timed that they also announced season 2 and 3 is coming, because they set up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I heard that I heard one reveal of a character kind of made my head snap a little, if you know what I mean.
It just hits different, Tony. Listen, man. The other thing I will say, though, even though you haven't seen the last 2 episodes, I do like that they pay off something that I've been waiting on all season, because one of the first characters we're introduced to is Lonnie Lincoln, and to some of you, that may mean nothing. To some of us, that means Tombstone. Yep. And so that starts getting set in motion too. So rest assured that's coming.
And that's such a tragic story when you think about it, because like Lonnie Lincoln is immediately a likable character, like first off. And I mean, let's face it, even Peter, who looks at him as a romantic rival, can't help but like the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's that in itself tells an interesting story, which is how does this person who is so good, what's the impetus that makes them switch to bad? And when you're watching this story, the fact that it's out of protectiveness of others,
right,
that he ends up getting into a world of evil is just, it's an amazing and interesting twist. In many ways, kind of the original early days of Walter White just trying to cook enough meth to make enough money to leave his family before he dies in Breaking Bad. You know, and I never thought I would have made a comparison between Breaking Bad and a Spider-Man project, but there you are.
It's 2025. Anything can happen.
Boy, howdy, can it ever. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the show as you have seen it up to that point?
I have really enjoyed. I can't say that I really have any complaints about the show. The show is done really well. It's got good pacing. I'm happy for more. I can give you more of an idea of this probably later on, either like next episode or on fandoms or whatever. But I have to say it's one of those near perfect, and it's not for kids. Just understand that kids can enjoy it, but it's got adult language and adult themes, and it's just a great Spider-Man show, regardless of whether it's animated or not.
I'm sorry to keep jumping back to Captain America: Brave New World, but what's the one curse word we heard Steve say other than ass?
I forgot.
I'm pretty sure it's shit.
I think so.
And boy, oh boy, howdy, does Sam Wilson love that word? Because I mean, I heard it at least 4 times in this movie.
Yeah, he's not the Boy Scout anymore.
Definitely not. Anyway, yeah, it's a good show. I think I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on whoever's program that it is when you see the final 2 episodes. Really looking forward to that. Because, let's face it, guys. In this day and age, when you're competing against, Travis and Jason Kelsey and Jason Kelsey's wife, and for a while there, the Hawk Tua girl, when you're competing in the podcasting space against these people, when we're up against Michael Rosenbaum in competing for ear time, right? Or Justin Long, even. Kevin Smith himself, constantly for the last decade, my podcasting career has kind of been in that shadow. And I'm not saying he cast. I'm just saying that, it's not like I've
can I
ever been
just-
able to compete on that level. But my whole point is, hold on, let me just finish this, or
Yeah.
else I'll forget it because I'm old and feeble now. But in a world where we're competing for your ear space, the only reason you would listen to this nonsense is because we hope that what we're doing is a part of a conversation you also want to be a part of. In other words, listening to us is like sitting down on the phone with your friends talking about things. We just can't hear what you're saying because you're talking against your headphones, your car radio, or the like. But, that's the only reason. So I hope that when we do shows like this, or when we have the discussions we have on fandoms over on its fan box, I hope that you just feel that you're a part of the conversation, because really it's the only reason why even my wife does not listen to the NetHeads anymore. So, that'll tell you right there. If anybody's supposed to be a fan of me, no, 30 years, she's no fan of me, trust me, anymore. She doesn't. She's heard it all, and now I'm getting older, so I'm repeating it all. But what were you going to say, Tony?
No, I mean, so I think that's the thing. Like, it's not about competing with them at all in the first place. Can you like take it off of me? Because like I'd rather it be both of us. Because for whatever reason, I can't stand my own face. Okay, you're not going to do it. Thank you very much. No, but we're not competing against these places. But we sit and we talk about what we enjoy. But you're sitting there mentioning the Haktua girl, Kevin Smith, and Michael Rosenbaum, and the only thing I could think of was basically Fat Man Beyond, Haktua inside of you. Like it's not a
You're
good.
just trying to don't try to make a Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or whatever it is of
it's
it.
like, no.
Don't. No,
NetHeads is safe. Like that's the thing. Like
it's a safe space, everybody.
ish.
This is a safe
unless
space.
you're a Patreon subscriber, patreon.com/NetHeads, then you get it on both ends. But
Yes, then we come at you at both ends. You get bonus content beginning and ends, and eventually I'll get back to doing original content as well. But Buddy the Elf asking the very obvious question as well. Wait, there's an audio version of this? Yes. Everywhere you can get your podcast, NetHeads. Obviously doing the video version of it as well. Just about everywhere that you can get on social media, except Instagram. Haven't cracked that nut yet, because we're really
because you have to do like a key every single episode. Like it's not
I don't look, man. I don't want to get in. Let's not tell people how to broadcast. We don't need to compete against anybody else. But it's true. In this day and age, you're not really competing. But it's. Look, I'm just saying the numbers aren't what they used to be. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I know.
And
Yeah.
And I will be honest too. Like, I don't know what anybody else experienced, but when 2020 hit, at the time where it was easiest to do the kind of podcasting I'm used to, right?
Mhm.
There were things that happened with the massive migration to people working from home, or remote as it's put. You would not believe the impact the removal of people's commutes had on podcasting.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, I talk to people across the board, like popular podcasts instantly losing 25%. And your standard grade, anybody's got a podcast, losing 75%. It was staggering and amazing. So the fact that anybody listens, I'm just thankful.
Well, it's funny because and it really has to be like a niche of some sort. I mean, what was it on Fanbox? We did the Agatha Long after show thing. Over 50 countries, almost 3,000 downloads for like 8 episodes.
Yeah, man. Even my dumbass sitting there doing a watch along, people would tune in. I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all has to be niche. But that's why, again, you can't be emboldened or just embracing one product. You have to think, look, I'm not NetHeads. It's just the moniker I've been most associated with. And the thing everything used to be in motivation of getting people to do this. But then I realized, no, that's not it. Technically, there is a Will Wilkins brand, and that's what the focus really is now. So, But, I'm also got a big motivational issue, so that's the reason why I don't do any of the projects I plan on. But you know what? This is getting sad. It's time to cut it off. Time to go. Tony, remind everyone where they can find you, and when are we having Fanbox again? What's coming up? What's coming up this weekend? What's going on?
Okay, so you can find me everywhere that you look for at Mr. Marvelite, with the exception of Facebook, because I really don't do anything with Facebook when it comes to my own moniker. But I will say, if you are not following its Fanbox, please do so. This Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. wonky timey wimey stuff. We're gonna be doing the Doctor Who watch party, or not watch party. We're gonna do the after show. We are going back to from 2005, and we're going episode by episode. We're actually doing 2 episodes this week. So if you would like to go back and watch Christopher Eccleston in the Aliens of London and World War III with the Slitheen, that is what we're gonna be talking about this week with a host of the panel. I hopefully will. And then fandoms will be back next week, Friday.
Very good. Now I know. Now I know.
Oh, and be sure to check out itsfanbox.com because it's live and we're trying to get people to write articles. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some stuff from maybe even you.
Me?
Not you, them.
Oh, them. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Also, shit, there was something else I wanted to plug. Oh, next week, guys, I got to do a show next week. Won't get into why. Gotta. It's also the big 400. Yes, there's been bonus content on Patreon, but also as of next week, there will be 400 episodes of this nonsense. So, and I don't know what it's going to be. Now, because some people are like, oh, it's the big 400. What are you going to, what favors are you going to call in? Who are you going to have? It's probably not going to be any of that. But I'm thinking for the big 400, it's the first time that we have all 3 of the current NetHeads hosts together in one space. And,
we'll have the throuple going.
Yeah. You get to meet Tony, or you get to meet Trent. Trent gets to meet Tony. I get to sit awkwardly there, which, by the way, if you guys aren't watching Severance, this will be lost on you. But this week's episode, Attila of Severance, almost describes this exact situation. I mean, there's a good metaphor in there for it, which, by the way, that show absolutely killing it as well. We are in a good time of TV, and I hope it continues because God knows we need the distractions. If the remaining 5 episodes of Severance are as good as everything has been up to this point, I'm going to be happy. And if Born Again delivers on the level it's supposed to, I'm going to be happy and distracted for quite some time. But
Will, have you watched High Potential yet?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've already admitted I've been watching it. I have not gone back to it yet. I haven't been maybe I would have on Saturday, but I have not been in a binging place yet. Okay. And that's where I got to be. And I know the season finale just happened. So, got to check that out. But anyway, guys, there's a bunch of TV talk, stuff we recommend, some shit we probably spoiled for you. I'm sorry. You know what? It happens. Deal with it. But thank you again very much for taking the time to join us and for traveling along with our nonsense. Don't forget, you can go to netheadsonair.com for everything about the podcast, youtube.com. Actually, you know what? It's real simple. Just go to netheadsonair.com because there's links to everything there. But like anywhere on social media, also you can click the link in my bio for all the other nonsense that I do. And thank you so much for joining us. Also want to remind you guys, link in the bio for magicmind.com /nethead LT20 to get up to 20% off a single purchase or 40 some odd percent off of a subscription for Magic Mind, which is I have been using for my mental wealth. For having good productivity and focus and sharpness. It is one of my favorite things. And it just comes in a little bottle shot, man. Just like, boom. I took one before this. I should be exhausted and said I'm a mental patient. If that doesn't tell you why you would want Magic Mind, nothing is. It's in the show. Link in the description. Link in bio? Maybe. But definitely link in the description for that. Until next time, guys, my name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
And you know what? I'm just going to make it simple. We'll be back soon.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Tony Abdullah.
Goodbye.
Signing off. I know. Stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads will be back soon.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Smodcast production. Smodcast Podcasts, using our mouths on you since 2007.
I don't know how long it's going to take me to get past this, but these new intros keep scaring the shit out of me. Okay?
That's
They-
fine because I'm just sitting here lip syncing.
They keep coming in, and I'm like, wait, this isn't what I'm used to. This isn't it. And every time now, I'm just startled. And I'm the guy that ordered them. How dumb is that?
And you know what? Just think, the people who watch Fat Man and Beyond would go nuts with the fact that I'm not Trent. So we're doing okay.
I completely agree.